The galaxy had always been a noisy place, filled with voices from countless species. For centuries, humanity was one of those voices, loud and curious, eager to explore and learn. But on a cold December morning, aboard the starship *EOS*, Captain Ryan Cole stood quietly in front of his crew. His face was calm, but his eyes betrayed the weight of what he was about to say. Earth's leaders had made a decision that would change everything. Humanity was leaving the galactic table, not because they were forced out, but because they chose to walk away. The reasons were complicated, debated endlessly in meetings and broadcasts across the planet. Some said it was pride. Others claimed it was fear. A few whispered it was wisdom. Whatever the reason, the choice had been made. Humanity would retreat, pulling back from alliances, trade agreements, and shared projects. They would focus on themselves, and only themselves. Lieutenant Emily Dawson watched Ryan as he stared at the holographic map floating above the command center. It showed human-controlled space, glowing blue against the dark expanse of the galaxy. Slowly, parts of the map began to dim, marking areas where fleets were already withdrawing. She hesitated for a moment before stepping closer. "Do you think this is really what we need?" she asked, her voice soft but steady. Ryan didn't answer right away. He kept his gaze fixed on the map, tracing the lines of borders and trade routes that had taken decades to establish. Finally, he spoke. "I don't know," he admitted, "but orders are orders. We're soldiers, not philosophers." Emily frowned. She wanted to argue, to say something meaningful, but she stopped herself. Instead, she turned her attention to the crew. Around her, people moved silently, their usual energy replaced by a heavy quiet. Some glanced at each other, unsure how to feel. Others focused on their tasks, trying to ignore the tension in the air. Back on Earth, the mood was different. In cities like New York and Tokyo, people gathered in public squares, watching massive screens broadcasting news updates. Journalist Daniel Hughes pushed through the crowd outside United Nations headquarters, notebook in hand. He scribbled down snippets of conversations, some angry, some hopeful, as diplomats boarded shuttles bound for neutral zones. These were the last representatives of alien governments stationed on Earth. When they left, humanity's ties to the galaxy would be officially severed. Daniel paused near a group of protesters holding signs. One read, "We belong among the stars." Another said, "Focus on us first." He sighed, snapping a photo. The division reminded him of earlier debates about climate change or economic policies. People always struggle to agree when faced with big decisions. Meanwhile, orbiting Jupiter, Commander Laura Bennett supervised the dismantling of a joint research station built with the Xetherians. The crystalline structure shimmered under the light of the gas giant, beautiful even as it fell apart. Pieces drifted away into space, lost forever. Laura clenched her fists, fighting back frustration. She had spent years working alongside the Xetherians, learning from them, and sharing knowledge. Now, all of that was being undone. As the day wore on, the reality of humanity's decision settled over everyone. Ships powered down engines, ready to leave distant colonies behind. Factories halted production of goods meant for alien markets. Even communication channels went silent, cutting off contact with old friends and partners. For many, the silence felt strange. It was as if the galaxy itself was holding its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. Would humanity thrive on its own, or would isolation lead to regret? No one knew for sure. All they could do was wait and hope for answers that might never come. The days turned into weeks, and the reality of humanity's decision began to sink in. On Earth, life went on, but it felt different. Cities buzzed with a mix of excitement and unease. Some people celebrated the newfound focus on human achievements, while others mourned the loss of connection with alien civilizations. In New York City, journalist Daniel Hughes walked through crowded streets, observing the mood. People argued passionately in coffee shops and parks, their voices rising as they debated whether leaving the galactic table was the right choice. At Times Square, massive screens displayed images of abandoned space stations and empty trade routes. The visuals were meant to inspire pride, proof that humanity could stand on its own. But for many, they only deepened the sense of loss. Daniel stopped to interview a young woman holding a sign that read, "We need each other." Her name was Sophia, and she spoke with quiet determination. "It's not just about us," she said. "We learn so much from them. How can we grow if we shut everyone out?" Daniel nodded, jotting down her words. He understood her point, but also saw the other side. Many believe humanity had become too reliant on alien technology and ideas. By stepping back, they could rediscover their own potential. Still, the divide between these perspectives weighed heavily on everyone. Far from Earth, in orbit around Jupiter, Commander Laura Bennett oversaw the final stages of dismantling the Titherian station. The crystalline structure, once a symbol of cooperation, now lay in ruins. Pieces floated aimlessly in space, catching the light of the distant sun. Laura stood on the observation deck of her ship, watching the debris drift away. She felt a pang of sadness. The Exetherians had been difficult partners at times, their ways often hard to understand. But working with them had pushed humanity to new heights. Now, all of that progress seemed to be slipping away. On Mars, engineer Nathan Fields faced practical challenges. Without access to advanced alien materials, some of his projects were falling behind schedule. Equipment designed for joint ventures with the Zentari, a species known for their mastery of energy systems, now sat idle. Nathan spent long hours tinkering, trying to adapt the machines for human use. It wasn't easy. "We're starting over," he muttered to himself one evening, staring at a malfunctioning reactor. "And I'm not sure we're ready." Back on Earth, psychologist Rachel Monroe noticed subtle changes in society. More people were seeking therapy, struggling with feelings of isolation and uncertainty. Children born after the Exodus didn't remember a time when aliens were part of daily life, yet even they seemed affected. Schools removed lessons about alien cultures, focusing instead on human history and achievements. Rachel worried about the long-term effects. "We're losing something important," she told a colleague during lunch. "Not just knowledge, but perspective. Seeing ourselves through someone else's eyes helped us grow." As months passed, the galaxy adjusted to humanity's absence. Alien leaders convened emergency meetings, trying to make sense of the sudden shift. On Zorath Prime, elder diplomat Calivor addressed a council of representatives. His voice carried both frustration and concern. "They have turned inward," he said. "What does this mean for the balance of power? For peace?" Elsewhere, in the shadowy depths of the Andromeda expanse, warlord Jaxforn saw opportunity. To him, humanity's retreat signaled weakness. His fleet began mobilizing, preparing to seize resources left behind. For now, he remained silent, biding his time. But his ambitions grew with each passing day. Despite the growing tensions, there were moments of hope. Amateur astronomers reported unusual activity near the edge of the solar system. Strange signals pulsed faintly, hinting at mysteries waiting to be uncovered. Though no one knew what they meant, the discovery sparked curiosity. Perhaps humanity's journey wasn't over. It was simply beginning anew. For now, the galaxy held its breath, watching and waiting to see what would happen next. News of humanity's departure spread quickly, faster than light itself. Across the galaxy, beings of all shapes and sizes reacted to the news in their own ways. On Zorath Prime, elder diplomat Calivor called an urgent meeting of interstellar representatives. The council chamber was filled with murmurs as delegates took their seats. Some were humanoid, others looked like shimmering clouds of energy, and a few didn't even have solid forms. Despite their differences, they shared one thing: confusion. "They have turned inward," Calivor said, his voice calm but firm. He stood at the center of the room, addressing the gathered crowd. "What does this mean for us? For the alliances we built? For the future?" His words hung in the air, heavy with uncertainty. One delegate, a tall insect-like being named Vrental, spoke up. Perhaps it is fear, he suggested, clicking his mandibles. They may think they are safer alone. Another, a glowing orb called Lizura, floated forward. Or maybe it is pride, she said, her voice soft and melodic. They believe they no longer need us. The discussion went on for hours, but no one could agree on why humanity had left. Some saw it as a betrayal, while others thought it might be temporary. Still, there was one thing everyone understood. The galaxy felt emptier without humanity's presence. Far away, in the Andromeda expanse, Warlord Jaxforn watched the chaos unfold with a grin. To him, humanity's retreat wasn't a mystery, it was an opportunity. His fleet of ships, armed to the teeth, began moving silently through the stars. He knew that abandoned colonies and trade routes would be vulnerable. Without humanity to protect them, these resources were ripe for the taking. Weakness invites strength, he told his second-in-command, a hulking brute named Tarn. Let's show them what happens when you turn your back. Meanwhile, closer to Earth, strange things started happening. In the Kuiper Belt, astronomer Clara Hayes worked late into the night, monitoring distant signals. She sat in her small observatory, surrounded by blinking screens and humming equipment. Suddenly, her instruments picked up something unusual, a faint pulse coming from deep space. At first, she thought it was interference, but the pattern was too regular, too deliberate. It wasn't random noise. It was a signal. Clara leaned closer, her heart racing. She adjusted the settings, trying to get a clearer reading. The signal repeated every few minutes, pulsing like a heartbeat. Her hands trembled as she recorded the data. Could it be a message? If so, who or what was sending it? She sent the information to Earth immediately, knowing it would cause a stir. Back on the planet, leaders gathered in secret to discuss the discovery. Some argued it was a trick, a trap set by enemies hoping to lure humanity back into the galactic fray. Others believed it might be a cry for help or even an invitation to return. The debate grew heated, with no clear answers. In New York City, journalist Daniel Hughes followed the story closely. He interviewed scientists, politicians, and ordinary people, trying to make sense of the signal. "What if it's real?" asked Maria, a young student he met outside a university. "What if someone out there wants us to come back?" Daniel nodded, scribbling notes. He didn't have answers, but he knew one thing. The signal had reignited hope in many hearts. For weeks, people had been stuck in limbo, unsure whether humanity's isolation was a blessing or a curse. Now, the mysterious pulse offered a glimmer of possibility, a chance to reconnect with the stars. As the days passed, rumors spread about the signal's origin. Some claimed it came from a derelict alien station near the edge of known space. Others whispered it might be a warning, a sign of danger lurking beyond the galactic rim. Whatever the truth, one thing was certain: humanity couldn't ignore it. The galaxy, once silent, was speaking again, and this time it demanded attention. Years passed, and humanity settled into its new life of isolation. At first, it seemed like a fresh start. Cities thrived with innovation, powered by advancements in technology and in science. People took pride in their achievements, celebrating what they could create on their own. But as time went on, cracks began to show. On Mars, engineer Nathan Fields faced growing challenges. The equipment he relied on was breaking down, and without access to alien materials or expertise, repairs became nearly impossible. He spent long hours in the workshop, trying to fix a reactor that had been designed for collaboration with the Zentari, a species known for their mastery of energy systems. "This isn't working," he muttered one evening, wiping sweat from his brow. The machine sputtered and died again, leaving him frustrated and exhausted. Nathan wasn't alone in his struggles. Across the solar system, similar problems arose. Factories that once produced goods using alien techniques now struggled to adapt. Progress slowed, and some projects were abandoned altogether. It was clear that humanity had grown dependent on its partners. whether people wanted to admit it or not. Back on Earth, psychologist Rachel Monroe noticed changes in society. More people were coming to her office, seeking help for feelings of loneliness and anxiety. Some missed the excitement of meeting alien visitors or learning about distant cultures. Others felt disconnected, as though something important had been lost. Even children born after the Exodus seemed affected. Schools no longer taught lessons about alien civilizations, focusing instead on human history and achievements. Rachel worried about the impact this would have on future generations. "It's like we've closed ourselves off," she told her colleague during lunch one day. "We're missing out on perspectives that used to challenge us, inspire us." Her colleague nodded but didn't respond. Everyone knew what she meant, but few wanted to talk about it openly. In New York City, journalist Daniel Hughes continued covering stories about life after isolation. He interviewed scientists, teachers, and ordinary citizens, documenting their experiences. Many expressed pride in humanity's independence, but others admitted they missed the sense of belonging to something larger than themselves. One man, an elderly engineer named Harold, summed it up best. "We thought we gained freedom, but instead we lost connection." Despite these struggles, there were moments of hope. Amateur astronomers kept scanning the skies, searching for signs of life beyond Earth. In the Kuiper Belt, Clara Hayes worked tirelessly, analyzing the mysterious signal she had discovered years earlier. She believed it held answers, perhaps even a way to reconnect with the galaxy. Her research inspired others, sparking renewed interest in space exploration. But not everyone shared her optimism. Warlord Jax Forn, lurking in the Andromeda expanse, saw humanity's retreat as an opportunity to expand his power. His fleet seized abandoned colonies and trade routes, claiming resources left behind. For now, he remained silent, biding his time. But his ambitions grew stronger with each passing day. As isolation dragged on, tensions rose. Debates erupted over whether humanity should reach out to its former allies or remain focused on self-reliance. Some argued that returning to the galactic table would weaken them, while others insisted it was the only way to survive. The divide deepened, splitting families and communities. One night, Daniel stood on a rooftop in Manhattan, staring at the stars. He thought about all the stories he had written, all the voices he had heard. Humanity's decision to walk away had changed everything. But it wasn't too late to change course. Somewhere out there, the galaxy still waited. It was up to humanity to decide whether they would answer the call. For now, the choice remained unclear, but one thing was certain. Isolation had come at a cost. And as the years went on, more and more people began to wonder if the price was worth it. One night, deep in the Kuiper Belt, astronomer Clara Hayes made a discovery that would change everything. She had been monitoring the mysterious signal for years, analyzing its patterns and trying to decode its meaning. At first, it seemed random, a faint pulse coming from the edge of known space. But over time, she noticed something remarkable. The signal carried encoded messages, hidden within quantum fluctuations. Clara worked tirelessly, running simulations and cross-referencing data. Finally, one cold evening, she cracked the code. The message was simple but profound. "Return." Her hands trembled as she read the words on her screen. It wasn't just a signal. It was a call, a plea for humanity to come back. She sent the decoded message to Earth immediately, knowing it would spark debate. Back on the planet, leaders gathered in secret to discuss the implications. Some argued it was a trap, a lure set by enemies hoping to exploit humanity's vulnerability. Others believed it might be an invitation, or even a warning. The room buzzed with tension as voices rose and fell. Journalist Daniel Hughes followed the story closely, interviewing experts and ordinary citizens alike. He visited Clara at her observatory, eager to learn more. "Do you think it's real?" he asked, his notebook in hand. Clara hesitated before answering. "I don't know," she admitted, "but it came from somewhere near the edge of our galaxy. If we ignore it, we might miss something important." The news spread quickly, dividing public opinion. Protesters filled the streets, holding signs that read, "Answer the call," and "Stay safe, stay home." Debates raged in homes, schools, and workplaces. People argued passionately about whether humanity should respond or remain isolated. Among those watching the chaos unfold was young pilot Ethan Grant. He had grown up during the years of isolation, hearing stories about the stars, but never seeing them up close. To him, the signal represented a chance to explore, to reconnect with the galaxy he'd always dreamed of. Determined to act, he volunteered for a mission to investigate the source. His request caught the attention of scientist Olivia Park, who specialized in xenobiology. She had spent years studying alien life forms and jumped at the opportunity to uncover the truth behind the signal. Security officer Marcus Kane rounded out the team, bringing military experience and a cautious perspective. Together, they prepared to board the sleek reconnaissance vessel Horizon *. As they suited up, Ethan felt a mix of excitement and fear. "What if it's dangerous?" Marcus asked, checking his gear one last time. Olivia smiled faintly. "Every step into the unknown is dangerous," she said, "but that's why we take it." The launch drew crowds of spectators, all curious to see what would happen next. Cameras rolled as the Horizon * lifted off, its engines roaring against the silence of space. For the first time in years, humanity was reaching outward again. As the ship sped toward the edge of the galaxy, the crew braced themselves for whatever awaited them. They didn't know if they would find allies, enemies, or something entirely unexpected. But one thing was certain: the signal had reignited hope. It reminded people that the stars were still there, waiting to be explored. Back on Earth, Rachel Monroe watched the launch on her television, tears in her eyes. She thought about all the patients she had counseled, all the fears and doubts they had shared. For so long, humanity had felt trapped by its own decision. Now, the signal offered a way forward, a chance to rewrite the story. For now, the outcome remained uncertain. But as the Horizon * disappeared into the void, the galaxy seemed to hold its breath, waiting to see what humanity would do next. The journey to the edge of the galaxy was long and quiet. Aboard the Horizon *, Ethan Grant, Olivia Park, and Marcus Kane spent their days preparing for the unknown. The ship's engines hummed softly as it moved through the vast emptiness of space. Outside the windows, stars shimmered like tiny pinpricks of light against an endless black canvas. Ethan spent most of his time in the cockpit, staring at the navigation screens. He couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, though there was no evidence of anyone, or anything, nearby. "Do you think we'll find something out there?" he asked one evening, glancing at Olivia, who sat nearby reviewing data on her tablet. Olivia shrugged. "We won't know until we get there," she said, her voice calm but firm. "But if this signal is real, it could mean we're not alone after all." Marcus, ever the cautious one, leaned against the wall with his arms crossed. "Or it could mean trouble," he said. "We should be ready for anything." His words hung in the air, a reminder of the risks they were taking. After weeks of travel, the Horizon * finally reached its destination, a derelict station drifting near the edge of known space. It was massive, larger than any human-made structure Ethan had ever seen. Its surface was covered in strange markings and fused pieces of alien technology, as if multiple species had worked together to build it. The sight was both awe-inspiring and unsettling. As they approached, the crew activated the ship's scanners. "It's old," Olivia said, studying the readings. "Parts of it look like they've been here for centuries, but some sections are newer, almost like repairs were made recently." Ethan guided the Horizon * closer, bringing the ship to a stop near an open docking bay. "Let's suit up," he said, grabbing his helmet. "We need to see what's inside." The team stepped onto the station cautiously, their boots echoing against the metal floor. The air was cold and stale, carrying the faint scent of decay. Strange symbols glowed faintly on the walls, pulsing in rhythm with the same signal they had detected from Earth. Olivia knelt to examine one of the markings, her gloved fingers tracing its edges. "This isn't just decoration," she said. "It's a language, maybe even instructions." As they moved deeper into the station, they discovered remnants of alien life everywhere. Crystalline shards from the Exetherians sparkled in dim light, while organic fibers from the Centauri clung to broken machinery. In one chamber, they found a massive console covered in dials and switches, each designed for a different kind of hand, or claw, or tentacle. "This place wasn't built by one species," Marcus observed, his voice low. "It was a joint effort, like a meeting ground." Olivia nodded, piecing things together. "And look at this." She pointed to a holographic display embedded in the wall. With a few taps, she activated it. Images flickered to life, showing scenes of destruction. Planets consumed by dark clouds, civilizations wiped out in moments. The message was clear. Something ancient and powerful loomed beyond the galactic rim, threatening all life. Ethan felt a chill run down his spine. "So the signal wasn't just an invitation," he said. "It was a warning." The realization hit them hard. Humanity's isolation hadn't shielded them from danger. It had left them blind to it. If this threat was real, no species could face it alone. They needed each other more than ever. "We have to tell Earth," Olivia said firmly. "They need to know what's coming." Marcus hesitated. "And what if they don't believe us? Or worse, what if they refuse to act?" Ethan clenched his fists. "Then we'll make them listen," he said, "because if we don't stand together, none of us will survive." As they prepared to leave the station, the weight of their discovery settled over them. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders, but also dangers. For now, humanity had turned away from it. But the question remained, would they turn back in time? Back on Earth, the news from the Horizon sparked chaos. Ethan, Olivia, and Marcus had sent detailed reports about the derelict station and the ominous warning it carried. Images of destroyed planets and civilizations flickered across screens worldwide, forcing humanity to confront a truth they could no longer ignore. Isolation wouldn't protect them from the dangers lurking beyond the stars. Leaders gathered in emergency sessions, debating what to do next. Some argued that the threat wasn't real, that it could be a trick designed to lure humanity back into the galactic fold. Others believed the warning was genuine and insisted that action was needed immediately. Public opinion swung wildly between fear and hope. Protesters filled streets, holding signs that read, "Unite or die, and we can't trust them." Journalist Daniel Hughes covered the growing unrest, interviewing people from all walks of life. He spoke with Sophia, the young woman who had once held a sign saying, "We need each other." She now stood outside United Nations headquarters, her voice louder and more urgent. "This isn't just about us anymore," she said. "If we don't help, everyone loses, including us." Meanwhile, retired Captain Ryan Cole emerged from seclusion to address the nation. Standing before a global audience, he spoke calmly but firmly. "This isn't about pride or fear," he said. "It's about survival. If we face this alone, we won't survive. But if we stand together, with our allies, we might have a chance." His words resonated with many, reigniting a sense of unity that had been missing for years. Slowly, the tide began to turn. People remembered the lessons learned during decades of cooperation with alien species. They recalled how working together had pushed humanity to new heights. The signal wasn't just a warning. It was a reminder that they belonged among the stars. After weeks of debate, humanity made its decision. A vote was held, and the majority chose to return, to reclaim their place at the galactic table. Ships were prepared, crews assembled, and messages sent to former allies, inviting them to join forces against the looming threat. In space, the combined fleet gathered at the edge of the galaxy, ready to face whatever awaited them. Among the ships was the Horizon, now flanked by vessels from dozens of species. Ethan, Olivia, and Marcus stood on the bridge, watching as the armada formed. Alien representatives joined them, their forms ranging from humanoid to shimmering clouds of light. Despite their differences, there was a shared determination in their eyes. Finally, the moment came. Together, they activated a beacon designed to lure the ancient entity into the open. For hours, nothing happened. The silence stretched on, heavy with anticipation. Then, without warning, the darkness shifted. A swirling mass of dark matter and consciousness emerged, its presence overwhelming. It paused, seemingly confused by the united front before it. Olivia gripped the console tightly, her breath catching in her throat. "It's here," she whispered. The entity didn't attack right away. Instead, it hovered, studying the fleet. Its movements were slow and deliberate, almost as if it were weighing its options. Then, after what felt like an eternity, it began to retreat, vanishing into the void as suddenly as it had appeared. No one knew whether it was defeated or merely deterred. But for now, the immediate threat was gone. As the fleet dispersed, Ryan looked out at the stars. For the first time in years, he felt a glimmer of optimism. Humanity hadn't walked away permanently. They'd stepped back to find their footing. Now, standing shoulder to shoulder with old friends and new allies, they were ready to walk forward again. And the galaxy exhaled. The galaxy felt different after the entity's retreat. It wasn't just the absence of immediate danger, it was a shift in the air, a sense that something fundamental had changed. Humanity's return to the galactic table marked the beginning of a new chapter, one filled with uncertainty, but also hope. For years, they had turned inward, focusing only on themselves. Now they were stepping back into the wider universe, ready to rebuild what had been lost. Back on Earth, people celebrated cautiously. Cities lit up with fireworks, and crowds gathered in public squares, cheering for the decision to rejoin their allies. But not everyone was optimistic. Some worried that humanity's return would lead to old mistakes, that they might once again become too reliant on alien technology or ideas. Others feared the entity could come back, stronger and more dangerous than before. Despite these concerns, there was a shared understanding. Isolation had left them vulnerable. Together, they stood a better chance. Journalist Daniel Hughes walked through the streets of New York City, notebook in hand. He stopped to interview a young boy holding a handmade sign that read, "We belong among the stars." The boy grinned as he explained his message. "If we work together, we can do anything," he said confidently. Daniel smiled, jotting down the quote. It was a simple statement, but it captured the mood perfectly. In space, the combined fleet began working to repair relationships damaged by humanity's departure. Commander Laura Bennett oversaw efforts to rebuild the Scytherian station near Jupiter, this time with human engineers collaborating alongside their crystalline partners. Progress was slow, but there was a renewed sense of purpose. "This isn't just about fixing structures," Laura told her crew. "It's about rebuilding trust." On Mars, engineer Nathan Fields finally got the help he needed. Alien specialists arrived to assist with the malfunctioning reactor, sharing techniques and materials that made the repairs possible. Nathan watched in awe as the machine roared back to life, its hum steady and strong. "I guess we really do need each other," he admitted to Olivia, who had joined the team temporarily. She nodded, smiling. "That's the point." Psychologist Rachel Monroe noticed changes in her patients as well. Fewer people came to her office feeling disconnected or anxious. Instead, they spoke about new opportunities, projects they were working on, friendships they were forming, dreams they were pursuing. Even children seemed more curious, asking questions about alien cultures and distant planets. Schools reintroduced lessons about the galaxy, sparking imaginations once again. Farther out, near the edge of known space, the derelict station remained a symbol of unity. Representatives from multiple species worked together to study its secrets, piecing together fragments of data to learn more about the ancient threat. Though the entity had vanished, its presence lingered in their minds, a reminder that the universe was vast and full of mysteries. Captain Ryan Cole reflected on everything that had happened as he stood on the bridge of the EOS*. The ship had returned to active duty, leading patrols along the borders of human-controlled space. He thought about the years of isolation, the challenges faced when humanity chose to walk away, and the courage it took to return. "We made mistakes," he said to Emily Dawson, who now served as his second-in-command. "But we're learning. That's what matters." Emily nodded, gazing at the stars. "Do you think we'll ever stop making mistakes?" she asked. Ryan chuckled softly. "Probably not," he replied. "But as long as we keep trying, I think we'll be okay." For now, the galaxy held its breath, watching humanity take its first steps back into the fold. There were still dangers ahead, unknown threats, uncharted territories, and hard lessons to learn. But for the first time in years, the future didn't feel so lonely. Humanity had walked away once, but now they were walking forward, side by side with friends both old and new. And somewhere among the stars, the pulse of a signal faded into silence, its call answered.